All right, let's unbox the Magicycle Ocelot Pro. Here we go. And there is what's inside. Nicely packed, all zip tied up. We're going to be going through and cutting all the zip ties and doing the assembly. And after cutting away the zip ties and removing all the styrofoam and plastic, you end up with the bike, which is nearly assembled, but which has a few parts to do, namely front tire, pedals, fender, and the handlebar needs to be attached. A few things set up, but that's pretty much it. Very simple. Got the charger here, and there's a bag of tools used to build the bike. Here we go. Let's get into assembling the Magicycle Ocelot Pro. So we're going to start with the front wheel. This has a quick release skewer. So the axle is basically this little skewer that goes through. It's very simple, but it requires about 3 or 4 hands, and I only have 2. So it goes up and into these slots. You can stick the skewer through, and there's a nut on the other side. I'll use the lever to do the final tightening. And that's it. So the front tire is installed, and we're moving on to the next step. So next step, we're going to install the handlebars. A little bit out of step from the instructions, but I feel like this should be done. 4 screws here, this cap comes off, this will go on, and we can screw those on. But I kind of think this is in the way, which is the display, so I'm going to take this off first, then put the handlebars on with the 4 screws, then put the display back on. So let's see if we can do that. A couple of Allen screws for that. We'll get this thing taken off, and then it'll be completely open for the handlebars to be installed. I'm going to remove these 4 Allen screws that hold the cap on. And so with the cap off, we can now simply put the handlebars on, put the cap back on, make sure you have the controller on the left and the gear switch on the right. And then just tighten these 4 down and adjust the handlebars forward and aft to get a nice fit for the rider. Next thing, 2 bolts here. We're going to loosen those up and allow us to kind of turn the steering wheel a little bit left and right to line up perfectly straight with the tire. Tighten these 2 down. That gets the handlebars installed, but we still have to go ahead and put this little display back on. So these 2 little screws are up under here. Remember, we had to take this off to put the handlebars on. So I'm just going to put these screws up in here, tighten it down, position this up real nice, and that's where it'll end up. And remember, there's tight and there's 2 pieces, so watch out. Done. Okay, so next is front fender and headlight at the same time going into the same hole. So that's 1, 2, 3 screws to do. So I've gotten the 2 screws on the side done, and then there's the one in the middle that holds both the fender and the light. And straighten up the fender. Oh my gosh, very nice. Done. Now, this little electrical connection needs to be done for the headlight. That's the only electrical connection that you have to do in the entire bike. Everything else is set up and ready to go. So, we are pretty close here. Let's move on to the next step. So, starting with the right pedal, you can see a little R and then another R here. So the right pedal will install clockwise and the left pedal will be counterclockwise. And then just tightening down the left pedal, you notice that it is going counterclockwise, or for you folks on the other side of the pond, it's anti-clockwise. We're gonna get these tires inflated. I think the maximum is 30 PSI, pounds per square inch. I'm gonna put them up to 25. I don't need to go all the way. So we got the front done, almost done with the back here. Taking them up to 25 PSI. Does anyone but me use a hand pump anymore? I don't know. Here we go, off with that. And the tires are inflated. Next thing, let's adjust the seat height for the rider. We can get a rider on there, and the quick release here allows you to simply move the seat up and down. Sheesh, very simple. Put it at the lowest point right now. And then two more things that need to be adjusted is this little controller for the display. Put that at a nice optimal position for the rider, and then the bell is upside down so that it doesn't get in the way in shipping. So turn that up, and there it is. A couple of flicks is all it takes. So we're gonna plug the power in that comes from the wall socket into this little port here. You can take the battery out, which is this black thing, by turning this. You will need the key to do that. But what we're gonna do is just put the power in and get this thing charging. So I've plugged the cord in, it is charging, but I looked at it, it was already at 100%. But what I'm gonna do now is just turn the bike on. And so there is a on button way up here on the front of it. You'll notice 1, 2, 3 buttons here, and then this fourth one is way up on top. I'm just gonna hold it down for a couple of seconds, and you'll notice that the display turns on. So now that the display is on, and you can see it all lit up, you can see it's at 100%. This is set for imperial, which is miles per hour and miles. It is set to pedal assist 1 out of the factory. This is all booting up straight from the factory. So what I'm gonna do is just tilt the bike up a little bit. You notice the back tires off the ground. And then look here, I'll twist this throttle right here. It's a little half twist throttle. I'm just gonna twist that throttle and notice that the back wheel is turning, okay? Hold the throttle down, make sure there's nothing rubbing, everything's looking good. But now you come up to the display here and you can see that it measures the miles per hour. And so that's being displayed, although we're not really going anywhere. The bike is stationary here with a wheel off the ground. So I'm gonna go into some of the settings, just very, very briefly show you those, covered nicely in the manual. What I'm gonna do, look here, I'm gonna hold the plus and the minus buttons down for a couple of seconds. And see what happened? It went into a nice little mode. Now, if I go up 1, actually, I wanna go down 1, we go to the speed limit. First thing, I wanna go and take this thing up to maximum speed of 28 miles an hour, okay? Hit the center button, goes away, we're done with that. So there you go. That's a very quick setup of the Magicycle Ocelot Pro. What you think?